Okay, now looking at a bit more detail of the idea of classic liberalism. We looked at the historical origins of classic liberalism, and we looked at how they fed into the modern views of politicians such as Margaret Thatcher, very much alive in terms of the ideas, if not herself. Now, what they're specifically saying is that the welfare state, the state, like the old kings and queens, interferes too much, should not interfere at all in the business of running the economy, and that this takes away individual freedoms. What they're talking about, and this probably gives you an indication of the kind of people that we are when we're talking about the people who are behind free market ideas, is they point that out that it's unfair that if you should be able to have parents who are rich enough to send you to private school, why should they also contribute for others to go have a state education? If you have private medical insurance, why should you also contribute to the NHS? And so on and so forth. This, in terms of any type of tax on the rich that they then don't get the benefit from, you could argue is an impingement on their freedoms and their liberties in terms of paying taxation to an creating the idea of the overmighty state and the idea going back in time. So this is, looking to have the market not interfere in this sense. It also looks at and complains that government is inefficient. Ronald Reagan famously once said, the government isn't the answer to our problems, the government is our problems. Meaning that inefficiency at the governmental level, and I think we have all experienced bureaucracy, whether they be on a national or local level, where there are, as this diagram suggests, far too many managers and not enough employees. There is an inbuilt inefficiency, according to this viewpoint, that is government as peculiarly and particularly unable to implement efficiently and redistribute wealth in this way. Also points to the fact that politicians and planners decide what clients need rather than letting market forces, i.e. the consumer choice, drive where resource should be put for in this way. It also points to the fact that, I'm afraid I'm picking on South West Roads Maintenance, who are examples of a government organisation or government funded organisation where there seems to be a lot of people doing not a lot of work. This is the idea, forgive me if anyone here is working for South West Roads Maintenance, that the state services are inefficient and inflexible because people are on an hourly rate and not paid by the customer but by central government. They don't meet those needs in a direct sense, and that those spending our money in local and national government are less concerned with efficiency or value for money in terms of what they do. And because there is a lack of competition, the state isn't responsive to individual needs, meaning that if the state rather than the consumer drives what should be produced and where, what we have is a lack of response to that consumerist need. Welfare state itself is responsible for causing poverty. This seems like an odd thing to say, that giving people benefits causes, but just think of this thing. Think, going back to Malthus and the traditions in this way. It is the idea, like on Fools and Horses, that if you give people money, what they'll do is use that money and decide not to work. And it breeds a culture or an attitude that says only fools and horses work.